Let's be real for a second. Have you ever really stopped and asked yourself, who am I? And I don't mean your name or what you do for a living. I mean, what are you, actually? Well, today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful and direct spiritual teachings out there, from the great sage Ramana Maharshi, to get right to the heart of that question. You know, the teaching we're digging into today, it starts with something so simple, something every single one of us can relate to. The text says it perfectly. All living beings desire to be happy always, and happiness alone is the cause of love. Think about it. That core desire, that search for lasting happiness, that's our starting line. That's the beginning of this whole journey. Okay, so if we're all looking for happiness, where do we actually find it? This is where the teaching throws a curveball. It suggests something pretty radical, actually. It says true, lasting happiness, it's not something you get from out there in the world. No, it's who you already are. It's your real nature. The only catch, to feel it, to live it, you've got to know yourself first. So how do you do that? How do you get to know yourself? It's not about reading a mountain of books or signing up for some new belief system. Ramana Maharshi's teaching is all about a direct method, a hands-on path of investigation that he calls self-anchoring. So where did this all come from? Well, it's from this incredibly potent little text called Who Am I? And the story behind it is just fascinating. See, this wasn't some book Ramana Maharshi planned to write. Back around 1902, this philosophy graduate showed up with all these deep questions. But the sage was observing a vow of silence at the time, so he just wrote his answers down on chalk slides. And those simple, powerful replies, that's the text we're getting into today. And that brings us right to the big question itself. Now, let's be super clear here. This isn't just some philosophical riddle to ponder over a cup of coffee. No way. It's designed to be a sharp, practical tool for discovery. In this teaching, asking who am I is literally the key that unlocks everything. It's how you cut through all the noise and get to your true nature. All right, so where do we start? Well, it's kind of like sculpting. Before you can see the statue, you have to chip away all the stone that isn't the statue. The first step in this inquiry is exactly that, a process of elimination. Getting really, really clear on what you are not by chipping away all the things we think we are. Okay, let's start chipping. First up, are you your body? This collection of flesh, blood, and bones? The teaching is blunt. Nope, I am not the gross body. It's something you have, something you experience the world through, for sure, but it isn't who you fundamentally are. All right, next layer. What about your five senses? You know, the tools that let you hear, touch, see, taste, and smell the world? The teaching is just as clear here. You're not those either. They're just the instruments, the camera lenses, not the person looking through them. Okay, but here's the big one. What about the mind? That constant stream of thoughts, feelings, memories, the thing that really feels like me. This is where the teaching gets, well, really radical. It says, you are not even the mind which thinks. And that is a huge deal. It means you are the silent awareness watching the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. So, if I'm not my body, not my senses, and holy cow, not even my mind, then what in the world is left? What could I possibly be? It's the only question that makes sense at this point, right? And here's the answer the teaching gives. What's left is pure awareness. Just that simple, silent background knowing that's there when everything else is gone. The teaching describes its nature as existence, consciousness, bliss, or in Sanskrit, Sat Chit Ananda. And it's not like those are three different things. They're more like three sides of the same coin, the three inseparable qualities of what you really are. Okay, so if that's what we are, why don't we feel it all the time? Well, the teaching has a great analogy for this. Picture this. You're walking at dusk, you see something on the path, and you jump back because you think it's a snake. Your heart's pounding, the fear is real. But then you look closer, and it's just an old piece of rope. See, the world we experience is like that snake. It's an illusion, an appearance. The self, what you really are, is the rope. It was there the whole time. To see the rope, you have to stop seeing the snake. All right, so that's the big picture, the theory. But how do we actually do this, like in our day-to-day lives? This is where the teaching gets super practical. The method is all about turning your attention inward and focusing on the one thought that starts it all, the I thought. See, the text explains the mind is basically just a big bundle of thoughts. And if you trace them all back, the very first one, the root of every other thought, like, I want this, or I feel that, is just the simple thought, I. This little I thought, the ego, is said to bubble up from a spiritual center in the body called the heart.
And here's the practice, step by step. It's actually really simple. A thought pops up in your mind, any thought at all. Instead of getting lost in it, you stop and ask, to whom did this thought arise? And the answer, of course, is going to be, to me. The second that me pops up, you hit it with the main question, who am I? You just keep asking that. And what happens is, that question acts like a magnet, pulling the mind's attention back to its source. And the original thought, it just fizzles out. That's it. That's the core of the whole practice. There's another great analogy here that really paints a picture. Think of the mind like a spider. When the mind looks outward through the senses, it spins out the web of the world, creating everything we perceive. The teaching calls this externalization. But the practice of self-inquiry, that's like the spider pulling the web right back into itself. It's called inwardness. It's all about keeping the mind at home, in its source, the heart.
So where is all this heading? What's the end game here? This constant questioning, this inward dive, where does it actually lead? It leads to the ultimate destination, the final, permanent realization of what you truly are, the self.
And the self, according to the teaching, is the only thing that's truly real. Everything else, the world, your personality, even your idea of God, they're all just appearances happening in it. And when you realize the self, that little I thought, the ego, is just gone. It's not a void or an empty nothingness, though. It's described as a full, profound experience that's simply called silence.
I love this next analogy. It's so vivid. Think of a pearl diver. To get to that priceless pearl at the bottom of the ocean, they can't just bob around on the surface. They have to tie a heavy stone to their waist to sink down. While the teaching says that for us, that stone is non-attachment. Detaching from our swirling thoughts and worries, that's what gives us the weight to dive deep inside ourselves and find that pearl of the self. It really shows you it takes focus to get past the choppy surface of the mind. And this path of asking, who am I? It's not just for the philosophical types. It's actually presented as the highest form of devotion. The teaching says that really, giving yourself up to God means the same thing, just constantly staying as the self, not letting that little I pop up and take over. It's a total surrender of the small personal self to that vast universal self. And when you do that, it brings this incredible sense of peace. The text has a really common sense analogy for this. It asks, if you get on a train, why would you keep carrying your heavy suitcase on your head? It makes no sense, right? The train is already carrying both you and your bag. In the same way, why do we carry the heavy weight of all our worries and plans when there's a supreme power already running the show? The wise thing to do is just put the bag down, trust the train, and relax. So, we're going to end right back where we started, with a question. After all of this peeling back the layers, this constant asking, this surrender, what is actually left when that root I thought, that feeling of being a separate person, finally and completely vanishes? The beauty of this teaching is that it doesn't just hand you an answer to believe. It gives you the tools to find out for yourself. What remains? Well, that's for you to discover.